Here we go with 2, 3, 2. So we're going to be talking about creating some linear functions given x-intercepts. Before we do that, let's revisit factoring. So our most important target for this unit. So our goal here is to factor the following quadratics and find the zeros. So pause the video, give that a try on your own. Okay, we're back. So when we factor, remember, you look for numbers that multiply to c and add to b if your a is 1, which is the case for all these. So the numbers that will multiply to 21 and add to 10 are 7 and 3. So then to figure out our zeros or roots, we set each factor equal to 0. Solve for x. So we get x equals -7. For the second, we get x equals -3. For the second one, again, multiply to c, add to b. So the numbers that multiply to 10 and add to 7 are 5 and 2. So x plus 2, x plus 5, these would be our factors. Set each factor equal to 0 to solve for x, which you should end up with -2 and -5. Next, again, a is 1, so we look for two numbers that'll multiply to c and add to b. Multiply to -24, add to -10. So those two numbers will be -12 and +2. -2, 12 times 2 is -24, -12 plus 2 is -10. Then we set each factor equal to 0 and solve for x. So we end up with x equals 12 for the first, and x equals -2 for the second. Last one, x squared minus 36. So again, a is 1, so we look for numbers that multiply to c and add to b. In this case, we don't have a b value. It's not given to us, so that means our b would be 0. We have 0x. So we're looking for numbers that'll multiply to -36, add to 0. Those numbers are positive and -6, which you should get as well for your roots. Okay. All right, on to our new target. So let's read the question first. A graph has x-intercepts of 4 and 8. Write and graph a function that has this characteristic. So we know this graph has x-intercepts at 4 and 8. So if I want to graph, 2, 3, 4, I have x-intercepts at 4 and 8. Okay. So we want to figure out a quadratic function that matches that has those. So let's think about what this means. If we have x-intercepts of 4 and 8, what we can do to determine our function or to write a function is we can work backwards from what we did up here. So we start with our x-intercepts and are given a function. So if we work backwards, then we should be able to write a function. So up here, if we're working backwards, we have our x-intercepts. The last step before that was setting factors equal to 0. So let's set these equations equal to 0. So we subtract 4 from both sides, get x minus 4. Subtract 8 from both sides, get x minus 8. And these would be our two factors, x minus 4, x minus 8. From there, we don't want to write it in factored form. Standard form is usually how we write. So let's just multiply this out so we can write our final function. So x times x is x squared. X times -8 is -8x. -4 times x is -4x. And -4 times -8 is a positive 32. We can combine our like terms here with -8 and -4. That's -12. So we have y equals x squared minus 12x plus 32. And that would be our function. Okay. So basically what we do to find our function if you're given x-intercepts is you start with your x-intercepts, work backwards to your factors, and then multiply out. So what we do with those x-intercepts is we rewrite our x-intercepts as factors, then we multiply them out. Last thing we want to do is graph. So kind of the most important piece or the best piece to have when we're graphing would be our vertex. So we have an equation. So we can always find the vertex by using our knowledge of functions. So remember, to find our vertex, the x value is always negative b over 2a. To find the y value, you just take negative b over 2a and plug it back in. So our b value here is negative 12. So we have negative 12 over 2 times 1. So negative times negative is positive. 2 times 1 is 2. 12 divided by 2 is 6. So our x value for our vertex, so I'm going to put that down here because we do have a little more work, is going to be 6. To find the y value, we take 6 and plug it back in. So we'll have y equals 6 squared minus 12 times 6 plus 32. 6 squared is 36. Negative 12 times 6 is negative 72 plus 32. Negative 36 minus 72 is negative, or 36 minus 72 is negative 36. Plus 32 would give us a negative 4. So when we plug in 6, we get negative 4, so our vertex would be at 6, negative 4. So 6, 1, 2, 3, 4. You may also recall that our vertex is always directly in between our x-intercepts. So our x-intercepts are at 4 and 8, so that means the vertex has to have an x value of 6. So we could have found that x value here rather than doing negative b over 2a, just figuring out what's in the middle. But then you'd still have to plug it in to get the y. And there we have it. Okay. Graphing is supplemental here. The most important piece is being able to come up with these functions for sure. Okay, let's move on to another. Okay. All right, we'll do this one together. A graph has x-intercepts of 1 and negative 5. Write and graph a function that has this characteristic. So we'll start by writing. So again, our process or our thinking here, we start by writing those x-intercepts as factors, then we multiply them out. So if we want to write this as a factor, we need to set it equal to 0. So subtract 1 from both sides to get x minus 1 equals 0. Add 5 to both sides to get x plus 5 equals 0. These are our two factors now. So our function in factored form would be y equals x minus 1 times x plus 5. To write our function in standard form, which is what we want, we distribute and multiply out. So x times x is x squared. X times 5 is 5x. Negative 1 times x is negative 1x, and negative 1 times 5 is negative 5. From there, combine like terms, so we only have two like terms. 5x and negative x gives us 4x. So our equation would be y equals x squared plus 4x minus 5. Okay, so writing is done. Now we need to graph. So we can start by graphing those x-intercepts at 1 and negative 5. So 1 and negative 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. In addition, we want to make sure to get that vertex in there if we can. So the vertex we can find in two ways. Number one, we can use negative b over 2a. Or, as you recall from the last, the vertex is always directly in between. So there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, a distance of 6 between these two, so halfway would be 3. So 1, 2, 3. So negative 2 is going to be our x value. Or you could find that using negative b over 2a, so it would be negative b is 4 over 2 times a is 1, negative 4 over 2, which is negative 2. Okay, now we plug in -2 into our equation that we found for x and get our y. So -2 squared, or -2 times -2 is 4. 4 times -2 is -8. 4 minus 8 is -4. Minus 5 is -9. So my point is -2, -9. That would be my vertex. So -2, -1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Right there. Okay. And it's a quadratic function, so it should have kind of a little bit of curve to it like that. All right. Okay. All right, you've got another one here. What I'd like for you to do is please try this one completely on your own. So pause the video, give it a try, and then we'll pop back in. Okay. We have x equals -4 and x equals 2 as our x-intercepts, which means our factors would be x plus 4 and x minus 2. So writing it in factored form, it'd be y equals x plus 4 times x minus 2. From there we distribute. X times x is x squared. X times -2 is -2x. 4 times x is 4x. 4 times -2 is -8. We just have two like terms. So we get y equals x squared. -2x plus 4x is 2x. Plus 2x minus 8. Okay, now we graph. We've got a point at -4, an x-intercept. Another x-intercept at 2. Let's find our vertex. So the distance between these two is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So halfway would be 3, so 1, 2, 3. So the x value of our vertex is -1. To find the y value, we plug it back into our equation. So it'll be y equals -1 squared plus 2 times -1 minus 8. -1 squared is 1. 2 times -1 is -2. 1 minus 2 is -1. Minus 8 is -9. So we get -1, -9. Right there. And there we go. Okay. All right, we have a couple more things to walk through here. So, factoring. Finding roots. That's our most important target here. So you have 9 problems. I know it's a lot, but it shouldn't take you too long if you're getting this practice with factoring. So that's what we're going to do. Practice some more factoring. Go through these 9 problems. Then when you're done, unpause the video, check the solution. Okay, we're back. Factors here. Multiply to 14, add to 9. So x plus 7, x plus 2. Our roots or zeros we get are -7 and -2. For number 2, multiply to 16, add to 17. So those factors will be x plus 1 times x plus 16. Our roots will be -16 and -1. Number 3, multiply to -20, add to -8. So our factors will be x minus 10, x plus 2, since those are the numbers that multiply to -20, add to -8, to which we'll get x equals 10 and x equals -2. From there, multiply to -30, add to 7. So we look for numbers multiply to -30, add to 7. So those would be 10 and -3, to which our roots would be x equals -10, x equals 3. Next, for x plus 8, x squared plus 8x plus 16, multiply to c, add to b. So multiply to 16, add to 8. Those would be +4 and +4. So we set each root's equal to 0 to solve. Each factor is equal to 0 to solve for roots. And you get the same. You just get x equals -4, so we don't need to write it twice. For the next, multiply to -18, add to 3. So 6 and -3. Roots would be -6 and +3. Number 7, multiply to -45, add to 4. 9 and -5 would do that. So our roots would be -9 and +5. Last 2, multiply to 28, add to 11. So that would be 7 and 4. The roots would be -7 and -4. And lastly, multiply to -8 and add to 7. Those would be +8 and -1. So our roots would be x equals -8 and x equals 1. Okay. All right, there's your factoring. Lastly, one more problem to kind of check, make sure you've got this down. You have a graph that has x-intercepts of 4 and 8. Write and graph the function. Pause the video, give it a try. Okay, x equals 4 and x equals 8. So we find our factors, which would be x minus 4 and x minus 8. So our quadratic in factored form would be x minus 4, x minus 8. So we distribute here. X times x is x squared. X times -8 is -8x. Then -4 times x is -4x. -4 times -8 is +32. Combine those like terms to get -12x. So we have f of x equals x squared minus 12x plus 32, which, if you've checked already, kind of trolled you a little bit. That was our first problem, x-intercepts of 4 and 8. So you can check on the front. Check with your graph, make sure you've got that correct as well. Your vertex should be 6, -4.